Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're strapping on our virtual reality headsets and fast forwarding to the year 2025
To the year 2025.
to explore the world of decentralized finance, or DeFi.
DeFi.
Our roadmap for this deep dive is an article titled Decentralized Finance, DeFi, in 2025,
In 2025.
the future of the digital economy.
Future of the digital economy.
What's got me really curious
Mm.
is how different will our financial lives be
How different will they be?
in just a few short years.
Well, one of the most fascinating predictions in the article is the idea that DeFi will go from a niche interest to something everyone uses.
Everyone uses it.
We're talking about mass adoption here.
Wow, so it's not just going to be for crypto whizzes anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And think about the implications, especially for people in developing countries who might not have access to traditional banking.
Yeah,
Imagine someone in a remote village using their phone to access financial services.
using their phone.
Loans, savings, investments,
Phil-
all powered by blockchain technology.
Okay, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, can we back up a bit?
Back up a bit.
For those of us who aren't quite blockchain experts, what exactly does that even mean?
Of course,
Of course.
blockchain is essentially a digital ledger that's distributed across a network of computers.
Okay.
That means no single entity controls it, and it's incredibly secure because every transaction is recorded and verified by multiple parties.
So it's like a giant tamper-proof spreadsheet in the cloud.
That's a great way to put it.
That's a great way to put it.
And this decentralized nature is what makes DeFi so revolutionary.
Revolutionary.
It cuts out the middleman, the banks, the institutions, and puts the power back in the hands of individuals.
I see. So it's all about cutting out the middleman.
Cutting out the middleman.
But I've also heard that different blockchains don't always play nicely together.
Don't always play nicely together.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Um,
How does that impact this vision of a global DeFi ecosystem?
that's a great point. And you're right, interoperability is a major challenge right now.
Right.
Think of it like trying to send a message from one social media platform to another. It can be a clunky process. But projects like Polkadot, Cosmos, and Chainlink are working on creating bridges between these blockchains.
So by 2025, we could be looking at a much smoother, more connected DeFi experience.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Imagine transferring assets between different blockchains as easily as sending an email.
Sending an email.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And the article suggests we'll see significant progress toward that by 2025.
That'd be huge.
Huge.
Faster transactions, lower fees, more opportunities for innovation. That sounds pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing.
But let's be real. Isn't all of this going to attract the attention of regulators?
Yeah.
I mean, governments usually like to have some control over financial systems.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
Regulation is a crucial piece of the puzzle, and it's something that can make some people in the DeFi space a bit uneasy. But the article argues that regulation isn't necessarily a bad thing. I can see that, some rules can actually be helpful, right?
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot between protecting users
Great.
and allowing innovation to flourish.
Precisely.
Precisely.
It's about striking the right balance.
The right balance.
And what's interesting is that we're not just seeing regulators taking an interest,
Yeah.
but traditional financial institutions are also starting to explore DeFi.
Wait, so the big banks are getting into DeFi.
DeFi.
Doesn't that seem a bit contradictory?
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it?
The whole point of DeFi is to decentralize finance, right?
But these institutions are realizing that DeFi is not going away,
Not going away.
and they want a piece of the pie.
So we can see familiar names like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs offering DeFi products.
It's certainly a possibility.
It's a possibility.
And their involvement could actually be a good thing in terms of bringing more mainstream acceptance and credibility to the space.
That's an interesting perspective.
Interesting perspective.
I guess it all comes down to how they approach it.
How they approach it.
If they try to centralize DeFi, that would defeat the whole purpose.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a delicate dance, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the coming years.
Now, I can't help but think about the security aspect of all of this.
Security aspect.
We've all heard those horror stories about DeFi hacks and people losing their money.
Losing their money.
Doesn't that make the whole thing seem a bit risky?
You're right. Security is paramount, especially when we're talking about finances.
Right.
And there have been some high-profile incidents that understandably raise concerns.
It's kind of like the early days of online banking when people are hesitant to trust it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It took time for people to feel comfortable putting their money online.
Putting their money online.
DeFi is going through a similar growing phase.
So how do we make DeFi more secure?
How do we make it more secure?
What kind of safeguards can we expect to see by 2025?
Well, the article highlights a few key areas.
Key areas.
One is the development of automated audits.
Automated audits?
Imagine software that constantly scans DeFi platforms for vulnerabilities, kind of like a digital security guard.
That sounds promising.
Promising.
What else?
Another area is decentralized insurance.
Decentralized insurance.
This would allow users to pool their funds together to create a safety net in case of hacks or exploits.
So it's like a community-based insurance system for DeFi.
Right.
I like that idea.
And we're also likely to see more sophisticated fund recovery protocols.
Fund recovery protocols.
Imagine having tools that can help track down stolen funds and potentially even return them to their rightful owners.
Okay, so by 2025, we could be looking at a much more secure DeFi landscape.
More secure DeFi landscape.
Which is definitely reassuring.
Reassuring.
But let's move on to something that really piques my curiosity.
Really piques your curiosity.
The tokenization of real-world assets.
Tokenization of real-world assets.
What exactly does that mean, and why should we be excited about it?
This is where things get really interesting. Essentially, tokenization means taking a real-world asset, like a piece of real estate, a valuable artwork, or even a commodity, and representing it digitally on a blockchain.
So it's like creating a digital twin of a physical asset.
Precisely.
Precisely.
And this has the potential to unlock incredible opportunity.
It's incredible opportunity.
Imagine being able to buy a fraction of a Picasso or invest in a solar farm in another country. All through DeFi platforms.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
It's like taking something that was previously inaccessible to most people and making it available to anyone with an internet connection.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's about democratizing investment and creating new economic opportunities.
But wouldn't that require specialized DeFi platforms?
Yes, and the article predicts that we'll see a surge in platforms designed specifically for tokenizing and trading real-world assets.
This all sounds incredible, but let's be honest right now, a lot of DeFi platforms are not exactly user-friendly.
Not exactly user-friendly.
I've tried to navigate some of them, and it's like getting lost in a maze.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
I've had my fair share of confusing DeFi experiences as well.
Confusing DeFi experiences as well.
But the good news is that user experience is a major focus for developers.
So what can we expect in terms of usability by 2025?
The article suggests that DeFi platforms will become much more intuitive and user-friendly.
User-friendly.
Imagine interfaces that are as easy to use as your favorite banking app.
That would be a game changer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And this ease of use will be crucial for mass adoption.
Crucial for mass adoption.
After all, DeFi can't reach its full potential if people find it too complicated to use.
Now, along with user experience, there's also the issue of education.
Even
if the technology becomes more user-friendly, people still need to understand the basics of blockchain and DeFi, right?
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely right.
Education is key.
Education is key.
We need to equip people with the knowledge and tools to participate in DeFi safely and confidently.
So it's not just about building better technology. It's about empowering people to use it responsibly.
Exactly.
It's a two-pronged approach.
Speaking of responsibility, we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room.
The environmental impact of cryptocurrencies.
Environmental impact.
There's been a lot of criticism about the energy consumption of blockchains like Bitcoin. How does that factor into the future of DeFi?
That's a really important point, and it's something that the DeFi community is actively addressing.
Okay, so what are some of the solutions being explored?
Well, for starters, remember that not all blockchains are created equal.
Not all blockchains are created equal.
Bitcoin, with its proof-of-work system, is indeed energy-intensive.
It's energy-intensive.
But newer blockchains like Ethereum 2.0 are moving to a proof-of-stake POS system.
Now, I've heard of proof of stake, but can you explain how it's different?
How it's different.
And why it's better for the environment?
Sure.
In a proof-of-work system, miners use massive amounts of computing power to solve complex mathematical problems, which secures the network. This requires a lot of energy. In a proof-of-stake system, validators who hold a certain amount of the cryptocurrency are randomly chosen to validate transactions.
Okay.
It's a much more energy-efficient process.
It's like going from a gas-guzzling car to an electric vehicle.
Exactly. And this shift to POS is expected to significantly reduce the carbon footprint of DeFi.
That's good news for the planet. And it also addresses a major concern for environmentally conscious investors.
Right. Sustainability is becoming increasingly important.
Increasingly important.
And DeFi has the potential to be a green financial solution.
This is all incredibly exciting, but I'm also curious about some of the more cutting-edge, almost futuristic aspects of DeFi that the article mentioned.
Futuristic aspects.
Things like optimized yield farming.
Optimized yield farming.
Uncollateralized loans.
Uncollateralized loans.
And decentralized derivatives.
Decentralized derivatives.
Can you break those down for us?
Of course.
Of course.
Let's start with yield farming.
Yield farming.
Imagine putting your crypto to work.
Okay.
Kind of like putting money in a high-interest savings account.
High-interest savings account.
That's the basic idea behind yield farming.
Basic idea.
You lend your crypto to a DeFi protocol and earn rewards in return.
So it's a way to generate passive income with your crypto holdings.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty appealing.
Appealing.
What about uncollateralized loans?
Uncollateralized loans.
How do those work?
Traditionally, if you wanted to borrow money,
you
needed to put up some form of collateral, like your house or your car.
Your house or your car.
But with uncollateralized loans in DeFi, you could potentially borrow money without putting up any assets as security.
Wow, that's a game changer.
Game changer.
But how is that even possible?
It's still early days for uncollateralized loans, but the idea is that these loans would be based on your reputation or creditworthiness within the DeFi ecosystem.
So it's like building a digital credit score based on your activity in DeFi.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Fascinating.
And what about decentralized derivatives?
Decentralized derivatives.
What are those all about?
Decentralized derivatives are financial instruments that track the value of other assets.
Track the value.
They allow you to speculate on price movements without actually owning the underlying asset.
Okay, that sounds a bit complex.
Complex.
Can you give us a simple example?
Sure.
Let's say you think the price of gold is going to go up.
Price of gold is going to go up.
With the decentralized derivative, you could essentially bet on that price movement without actually buying any physical gold.
So it's a way to gain exposure to different markets without having to invest directly in those assets.
Exactly.
And these are just a few examples of the innovative financial products that DeFi is making possible.
Innovative financial products. It seems like the possibilities are endless.
Endless.
But are there any challenges or roadblocks that could hinder the growth of DeFi?
Roadblocks?
I mean, it can't all be sunshine and rainbows, right?
You're right. It's not all smooth sailing.
Not all smooth sailing.
There are definitely challenges that need to be addressed for DeFi to truly reach its full potential.
So what are some of the biggest hurdles that DeFi needs to overcome?
Well, the article highlights 3 key challenges.
3 key challenges.
Scalability.
Scalability. And global regulation.
Global regulation.
Let's start with scalability.
What exactly do we mean by scalability in this context?
As more and more people use DeFi body, blockchain networks need to be able to handle that increased volume of transactions.
So it's like trying to fit a growing city's traffic onto a small country road.
That's a great analogy.
It's a great analogy.
If the network can't keep up with the demand,
it
could lead to slower transaction times and higher fees.
Lower transaction times, which would hinder adoption.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
What about education?
Education.
We touched on this earlier. But why is it such a crucial challenge?
Because DeFi is still a relatively new and complex space. It's essential that people understand the risks and rewards before they jump in.
So it's about empowering users to make informed decisions and protecting them from potential scams or pitfalls.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And this education needs to go beyond just the technical aspects.
Beyond the technical aspects.
It's also about financial literacy, risk management, and responsible investing.
And finally, there's the issue of global regulation.
Global regulation.
How do we navigate the complex web of regulations across different countries?
That's perhaps the most challenging aspect of all.
The most challenging aspect.
DeFi, by its very nature, is borderless.
But
different countries have different approaches to regulating cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance.
So it's like trying to create a universal set of rules for a global game where everyone's playing by slightly different rules.
Exactly. And this lack of regulatory clarity creates uncertainty for both users and developers.
So finding a way to balance innovation with regulation on a global scale will be key to the long-term success of DeFi.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a complex challenge, but one that needs to be addressed if we want to see DeFi thrive in the years to come.
Well, it sounds like we've got a lot to unpack here.
A lot to unpack.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
From the
From the basics of blockchain to the potential of DeFi in 2025.
DeFi in 2025.
But there's still so much to explore.
Indeed. Indeed.
We've only just scratched the surface. In this next part of our deep dive, let's shift gears a bit and explore the potential impact of DeFi on a more personal level.
You mean how it could actually change people's lives?
Absolutely. We've talked about the technology and the challenges.
But ultimately, it's all about how DeFi can empower individuals and create a more equitable financial system.
So paint a picture for me.
Paint a picture.
What could this look like in 2025?
In 2025.
What's the big takeaway here for the average person?
Imagine a world where you have complete control over your finances without relying on traditional intermediaries.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about sending money to a loved one overseas instantly with minimal fees.
Instantly.
Or accessing investment opportunities that were previously out of reach for most people.
So it's about breaking down those financial barriers and creating a more level playing field.
Exactly. DeFi has the potential to democratize access to financial services, making them more inclusive and efficient.
That's a powerful vision.
Powerful vision.
But let's be realistic.
Let's be realistic.
Even if DeFi becomes more user-friendly and secure, there's still a learning curve, right? Not everyone is going to understand this technology overnight.
You're right. Education is key.
Education's key.
That's why it's so important to have resources and communities that can help people learn about DeFi in a safe and accessible way.
I guess it's kind of like learning a new language.
Like learning a new language.
It takes time and effort, but the rewards can be significant.
Exactly. And the more people who understand DeFi, the greater its potential for positive impact.
Now, I'm curious about your take on the role of traditional financial institutions in this future.
In this future.
We talked earlier about how they're starting to explore DeFi.
Starting to explore DeFi.
Do you think they'll embrace it fully, or will they try to resist this shift in power?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
I think we'll see a mix of both.
Mix of both.
Some institutions will adapt and integrate DeFi into their existing services.
While
others might try to hold on to the old way.
So it's a bit of a survival of the fittest situation.
In a way, yes.
In a way, yes.
The institutions that are willing to innovate and embrace change will be the ones that thrive in this new financial landscape.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
But I wonder, even if DeFi becomes widely adopted, will it ever fully replace traditional finance? Or will they coexist in some way?
That's a tough one to predict.
Yeah.
It's possible that we'll see a hybrid system emerge where DeFi and traditional finance complement each other.
So it's not necessarily an all-or-nothing scenario.
Right. I think there's room for both.
Room for both.
DeFi can offer solutions that traditional finance simply can't. But traditional finance also has its strengths and advantages.
It's like a toolbox. You might use different tools for different jobs.
That's a great analogy.
That's a great analogy.
And ultimately, the choice will be up to the individual user.
The individual user.
People will choose the financial tools and services that best meet their needs.
That brings us back to the idea of empowerment.
Empowerment.
DeFi gives people more options, more control, and more freedom to manage their finances.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so exciting.
So exciting.
DeFi is more than just technology. It's a movement that has the potential to fundamentally change the way we think about money and finance.
Speaking of movements.
I'm
reminded of the early days of the internet.
Early days of the internet.
There was so much excitement and potential, but also a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty.
Do you see any parallels between the evolution of the internet and the rise of DeFi?
Definitely both are disruptive technologies that challenge the status quo.
Okay.
And both have the potential to connect people and information in unprecedented ways.
But with the internet, we also saw the rise of monopolies and data privacy concerns. Are there any lessons we can learn from the internet's journey that can help guide the development of DeFi?
Absolutely. One of the key lessons is the importance of decentralization.
Decentralization.
The more decentralized the system is, the more resilient it is to censorship and control.
So avoiding the concentration of power in the hands of a few is crucial.
Exactly. And another important lesson is the need for transparency.
Transparency.
In DeFi, all transactions are recorded on the blockchain, making it a very transparent system.
Which helps build trust and accountability.
Precisely. And it's important to learn from the mistakes of the past, such as data breaches and privacy violations.
So building in strong security and privacy measures from the outset is crucial.
Absolutely. We can't just assume that DeFi will automatically be secure and private.
Right.
We need to actively design it that way.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot to learn from the internet's journey.
A lot to learn.
And hopefully we can avoid repeating some of the same mistakes.
I agree. By studying the past, we can make more informed decisions about the future of DeFi.
Now, let's shift our focus back to the listener.
Back to the listener.
If someone is new to DeFi and wants to learn more,
where
should they start?
Where should they start?
What resources would you recommend?
There are some great online resources available, such as websites, forums, and communities dedicated to DeFi. I'd also recommend checking out some of the educational content created by reputable DeFi projects and organizations.
And what about staying up to date on the latest developments in the space? Seems like things are moving so quickly. How can people keep their finger on the pulse of DeFi?
Following industry news outlets, blogs, and podcasts is a great way to stay informed.
Okay.
And social media platforms like Twitter and Reddit are also valuable sources of information and discussion.
So it's really about being proactive and seeking out information from trusted sources.
Exactly. There's a lot of noise out there.
Right.
So it's important to be discerning and critical of what you read.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. The DeFi community is generally very welcoming to newcomers.
Absolutely. There are plenty of people who are passionate about DeFi and willing to share their knowledge.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
A lot of ground.
We've explored the potential benefits of DeFi as well as the challenges that lie ahead. But as we wrap things up, I want to circle back to the big picture.
The transformative potential of this technology.
Exactly. What are your final thoughts on the future of DeFi?
The future of DeFi.
What do you think it holds for us as individuals and as a society?
I believe DeFi has the power to create a more equitable, transparent, and accessible financial system for everyone. It can empower individuals, foster innovation, and drive economic growth.
It's almost like a new era of finance is dawning.
And it's an era that we can all be a part of. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting to explore the world of finance, DeFi has something to offer.
But as with any new technology, it's important to approach it with caution and to be aware of the risks involved.
Absolutely. It's crucial to do your research, understand the technology, and make informed decisions.
And most importantly, to never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Wise words. DeFi is an exciting and rapidly evolving space, but it's not without its risks.
So as we look ahead to 2025 and beyond, what are some of the key trends or developments that you think will shape the future of DeFi?
That will shape the future.
What should we be paying attention to?
One trend to watch is the continued development of Layer 2 scaling solutions.
Layer 2 scaling solutions.
These are technologies that aim to improve the speed and efficiency of blockchain transactions.
So addressing that scalability challenge we discussed earlier.
Exactly, and we can expect to see more innovation in areas like decentralized identity and reputation systems.
Which could play a key role in things like uncollateralized lending.
Right, and the intersection of DeFi with other emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things is also something to keep an eye on.
So the potential for DeFi to disrupt and transform various industries is vast.
Absolutely. We're only just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible.
Well, it sounds like the future of DeFi is bright, but also full of challenges and uncertainties.
That's the nature of innovation. It's a journey, not a destination.
And it's a journey that we're all on together. So let's keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
I couldn't agree more. The future of finance is in our hands. Let's make it a good one.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the potential of DeFi in 2025. We've talked about the technology, the challenges, and the transformative impact it could have on our lives.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
I'm all ears.
DeFi is more than just a buzzword.
Or
a technological innovation. It's a paradigm shift. It's a movement that's challenging the traditional financial system and empowering individuals to take control of their financial well-being.
It's about reimagining the very foundations of finance.
Exactly. And while the road ahead may be bumpy,
the
potential rewards are enormous. DeFi has the power to create a more equitable, transparent, and accessible financial future for all of us.
So what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from this deep dive? What's the call to action?
I hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to learn more about DeFi.
Learn more about DeFi.
Don't be afraid to dive in, explore, and ask questions.
Because the future of finance is being written right now.
Right now.
And we can all be a part of it.
And remember, the best way to learn about DeFi is to experience it firsthand.
To experience it firsthand.
Start small, experiment, and see for yourself how this technology can empower you.
That's a great point.
A great point.
It's like anything new, the best way to learn is by doing.
Exactly. And there are plenty of resources available to help you along the way.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into the world of decentralized finance in 2025.
It's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating topic with you.
And to our listener, we hope you found this deep dive informative and thought-provoking.
The future of finance is in our hands.
In our hands.
Let's shape it wisely.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
Keep learning.
Keep learning.
And stay curious.